The Chassidish Parsha invites you to part 2. After we explained the different light that shines during Shabbat and Yom Tov, during Shabbat we explained that it is the light of Abba, of Chokhmah, a light which is completely aloof, which shines during Shabbat. And therefore Shabbat, it's beyond our grasp, and we're not able to we don't have an obligation to rejoice. It's more the concept of oneg, vekarata la Shabbat oneg. But Yom Tov is within our grasp, is within our understanding, and therefore during Yom Tov, we're able to experience the joy. We experience it physically. Now, what happens is, it says, vekarata la Shabbat oneg. You will call Shabbat oneg, pleasure. The word oneg, the Alter Rebbe says, to continue, is the acronym of 3 words. The word Eden, which represents Chokhmah, this supernal level which is above our grasp. The word Nahar, which is the river, which comes out of the Eden, which we can benefit of. And the word Gan, which is the garden, which benefits of this water. We notice here, it says the word Nahar. Nahar comes out of the Eden. Bina comes out of the Chokhmah. And indeed, it says, Benahar ya'avru beragel. They will go with their feet through the river. The Alter Rebbe takes it to another level and says, no, understand it at another level. You want to experience the level of Nahar, the level of Bina, the level of joy. It's beragel, beregel, during one of the 3 festivals, during the festivals, the Shalosh Regalim. And then the Alter Rebbe goes to the next level. Ushmartem et ha-Shabbat ki kodesh hi. The Shabbat is called holy, kodesh. Just like we mentioned before. It comes from Abba, from Chokhmah, which is the level of kodesh, kadosh. But the holiday, Yom Tov, on the other hand, is called mikra'e kodesh. It's called kodesh. But it's not kodesh itself, just like the river that comes out of the Eden, which is not the Eden itself. It's just a ray, an emanation of that level, which is called the Eden, which is called Kodesh. Now we know that if a person is going to experience joy, that joy can be limiting. Because once you experience joy at your level, and that's all there is, they could be, God forbid, this joy can actually give power to other things which have nothing to do with holiness. And therefore, the 2 best friends in Chassidut and Kabbalah are Chokhmah and Bina. Wisdom, understanding. Abba and Ima. Father and mother. Trein rein de lo mitparshin. The level of Chokhmah is above understanding. In order for us to be able to experience the joy and stay on a level which is holy, on a level where we want more, and we really appreciate it, we need to have the level of Chokhmah, of Abba, shine within Bina. So to say, we could say the level of Shabbat will actually shine in the Yom Tov. But how do you do that? How do you bring such a high level in the level of Yom Tov? So the Alter Rebbe says, it's through Hallel, it's through prayer, but most importantly, it's through a commandment of the Torah, which is the mitzvah of eating the Matza. The Matza, Dagan, this bread is called Michla de Mehemnuta, it's the bread of faith. And our sages teach us, En hatinok korele Abba acheitam tam Dagan. The child, in order to be able to call and recognize his father, recognize this higher level of existence, even though he doesn't grasp it, he first needs to taste a little bread. What is this bread? This bread is actually the bread of Pesach, the matzah. The matzah has no taste, just like this level. On the night of Pesach, there is what we call Katnut Abba. There is, so to say, this level which is above us is actually permeating us, and just like a concentrated, not a diluted power, it's given inside of us and we're able to absorb it so it becomes a part of us. During Pesach, on the night of Pesach, the Alter Rebbe at the beginning of the Maimer, which we didn't mention this question, asks the question. It doesn't make sense. In the Haggadah, we say, why do we eat this matzah? Because it didn't have time to rise, because we had to run out. On the other hand, we see that already earlier the Jewish people were commanded, Ba'erev tochlu matzot, you will eat matzot. The Alter Rebbe concludes that really on the night of Pesach, this was the commandment to eat matzah. The rest of Pesach, there was no commandment not to eat chametz. So how come suddenly we got 7 days of Pesach? 7 days of not eating chametz. The Alter Rebbe explains that in the matzah you have what's called kadlut abba. You have the first level of grasping of understanding. Imagine for a second, this is my example, I'd like to give you a practical example on how to understand what's happening to you on the night of Pesach. Imagine that you need something to strengthen your immune system, and you will get an injection of something which is of a very, very potent, very powerful. You might feel a little strong at that moment, but you still don't feel it in all of your body. You don't feel it as in a conscious way. Pesach, on the night of Pesach, this level of chokhmah, the michla de mehemnuta, the bread of faith is injected inside of us. And we start to be able to recognize our Father, meaning that supernal level. We know it's there, like a gut feeling, like a godly feeling inside of us. But it's not yet something which is conscious. Comes the Alter Rebbe and explains, this is why afterwards there's 7 days of Pesach. In order to be able to make that this wisdom, this knowledge should go and permeate the 7 emotions, the 7 levels, which are the character traits and the emotions of the person, which will eventually translate into the 7 weeks of Sefirat HaOmer, where every day we will integrate more and it'll become more a part of us. It's just like going to the doctor, getting 7 injections, and suddenly there's a slow release that leads us up to the holiday of Shavuot, but that's another chapter altogether. So the question is, why? Why was it for, at the time we went out of Egypt, we were commanded really for 1 night, but for later generations, we're commanded for 7 days. The Alter Rebbe explains, because at this moment, there's such a high revelation, there could be what we call yenikat achitzonim. Wherever there's great revelation, negative forces want to take their share as well. At the time of Egypt, we were in the merit of Aaron, surrounded by the clouds of glory, which were able to stop all the negative forces from taking their share. But now, in the generations to come, that we don't have these clouds of glory, we need a special protection. So that's why during the 7 days of Pesach, we do not eat chametz and we eat matzah, in order to be able to put us on that path where we're able to experience what it means that ba'erev tochlu matzot, what it means to be connected to Abba, what it means to have that knowledge of godliness at the highest level. To conclude, I'd like to conclude with a story. One day a very wealthy man came to see the Rebbe and said, Rebbe, I think I have $1 million. I'd like to donate to a big project. Give me a big project. And the Rebbe said, donate to Shmura Matza, that we should distribute Shmura Matza all over. And the person said, but Rebbe, I want a big project, a building, something. The Rebbe said, no, this is a big project. To be able to infuse every person with faith, this is what we do when we eat on the night of Pesach, Shmura Matzah. So, it is our responsibility to take this message and feed the faith to all our neighbors and bring them Shmura Matzah.